What up, guys and girls? It is Bobby.
And Sean.
We're back. Sorry for the quite lengthy break. We've both been very busy with school and work and, life. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to put as much time and effort into the podcast because we're just busy. As always, this episode's podcast is brought to you guys by Paragon Recovery. Use the code Cronus for 15% off, and if you're military or first responder, hit them up directly for an additional discount.
Hell yes, we are back. It feels good to be podcasting again because I just feel since we didn't release a podcast the last couple of weeks, the world has gotten worse, and everyone is worse off for not hearing our opinions on things. So we're back. We'll make everything right. I guarantee you in the next 3 to 4 weeks, there's probably another big event coming, but everything's going to be fine because you're listening to us in your cars, in the gym. Although if you're in the gym listening to us, put music on. We're not good enough for that. Or you're sitting there, next to your significant other and they're just blabbing on and on and on, and you want to listen to something else other than their voice. So that's why you tune them out with the sultry sounds of Sean and Bobby.
Absolutely. What's been going on with you, Sean? It's been a couple of weeks.
Yeah, just getting into the weeds with school. Just really busy. Again, I think 2L is probably the most difficult year at law school because you'll have the opportunity to be on a journal, which I participate in. You've got interviews throughout the fall and the winter for jobs. The classes are a little bit more difficult depending on what you signed up for. And you're really just trying to become like the best lawyer possible. So it's probably like I've gotten better every semester. And this semester in particular, I'm doing much more external reading to class assignments to try to like bolster my understanding of the subject and really trying to utilize what my professors have written in the past, what they recommend other professors have written, just so that I'm not confined to like one single text. So my brain hurts about 5 nights out of the week. And that's a pain. That's a burden I bear that it's my cross to carry, I think. How about you?
Yeah, I totally empathize with it about reading. I took a set of boards a couple weeks ago, I believe. I took my step 3. Past that, I got I didn't really study that much for it because I was working. But I think I got right in the national average on the 50th percentile.
Oh, so you passed. You got your results back.
I got my
congratulations, man. That's awesome.
It's nice because that was the last big thing I had to do. And then, of course, we have our surgery in-service exam. So that's like our yearly, we call the ABSITE. We have that on in January, so I already started studying for that. So I've just been reading, just trying to keep up with school, with work. I'm just trying to keep up with all the stuff that we're learning. So I'm on the vascular surgery service right now, which is it's a lot chiller in terms of the hours and the workload because they just don't have that many patients and cases. But it's been I actually kind of enjoy it. It's a very specialized service, and I enjoy learning some more about a little bit more nuanced surgeries.
Dude, I remember, and the listeners I'm sure remember a couple months ago, even probably just a couple weeks ago, your schedule on the weekends and during the week with the hours that you had in the hospital when you were training for the ultra before it got canceled, working out, getting your new house set up, all this studying that you were doing, like that takes some serious time commitments and like time management skills. So I think if anyone's ever thought about like leaving the military for something like another occupation or another career, like that's really important. So have you done anything differently in the last like 3 months as you like have, not as much time that we're committing now to the ultra because it got canceled? Do you find you have more free time, less free time because of those things?
It's hit or miss. Someone in my Q&A asked about like time management, like how to study when working, and it's really just about being like efficient with your time and being able to like manage your time very well and intelligently. Like I'd say I'm probably busier now in terms of I don't have as much free time because when I come home, it's usually about like I don't know, like 5 or 6 at night. So I come home, I'll like eat dinner or I work out if it's early enough. If I get home before 6, I usually work out for a little bit. and then eat dinner, and then read and study for a couple hours before I go to bed. But then at work, it depends on what I'm doing at work. Like some days I'm just busier than other days, and some days I'm just not as busy. But like if I have downtime, I try to fill that downtime with something productive, whether that's like doing like practice questions, reading. Like I have like an iPad that I have all my like a Dropbox that has all my readings on it. So I'll pull up that and read during the day. Other things I'll do is like if I have patients or surgeries to prep for, I will prep that early in the week so that makes my future life easier. So like I read ahead and look at the patients, like understand why they're getting surgeries, and then like read up on the surgery, like steps of the procedure themselves. So just like by the time it just makes me like the goal that I like the picture is like, you should make current your current Bobby is trying to make future Bobby's life easier.
Yeah.
So how can I make future Bobby's life easier today? And that's kind of like the approach I take for everything right now.
Yeah, you're investing in that future Bobby. When you're reading, what do you do to get over some of the humps? Because there's times where I'll look at my textbook and I'm like, all right, for every hour that I have planned out, I'm going to do 45 minutes or 50 minutes of reading and then something else for 5 to 10 minutes, whether that's like, bullshitting on Instagram, whether it's reading ESPN, whether it's watching the news, like something that I'm not focused on the text so that I'm not getting like tracer burnout. Do you do the same thing?
Yeah, I think that's actually it's called the Pomodoro technique. And I believe it's 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. You do that for like 4 or 8 cycles, and then you do like a 30-minute break. I did that a lot in med school. That was like my studying technique. I had like literally had a timer, like an app on my phone or my computer that would like do like it'll be like interval timer essentially.
Yeah.
Like you work for 25 minutes, take a break for 5 minutes, work for 25 minutes, break for 5 minutes, and after like 4 or 8 cycles or 2 or 4 hours, then you take a 30-minute break.
Yeah. And I like it too with the small breaks because sometimes I'll be upset that I have to even take a break because it'll get to that point where you feel like I've gotten to the top of this ride. I'm about to be coasting down where things are starting to click. And you're like, no, because I know if I don't take this break in 20 minutes, I'm going to be shot. Like I'll come right back into this. I'll go grab a coffee, do something productive or like unproductive here in the city. And then, go back to the reading. But I mean, I feel like there's sometimes just not even enough time in the day. And I'll be telling myself I've got 4 hours that I'm going to devote to this one class assignment. And when 4 hours comes, wherever I'm at, like I'm done. Like I could turn a 4-hour assignment into an 8-hour assignment. It's just, the utility that I'll get for every extra 30, 40 minutes after is just, it's marginal and not worth it.
Yeah, the juice becomes not worth the squeeze at that point. And I would agree with that. Yeah, that was like the big thing that I did in med school was just that technique and being very disciplined in my time. I think that's like that's like the key to the success is having that discipline, being able to like create that schedule of from like this time to this time I'm going to do this, then from this time to this time I'm going to do this, and then just creating that mental schema and then holding yourself accountable for that schedule that you create.
No, absolutely. Something that we didn't talk about before, but for those listeners that are new to the podcast, Bobby's in Seattle. I'm in New York. But recently, with all the wildfires that I think they're still ablaze in parts of the western states.
Maybe
But
it hasn't really affected us too much.
Yeah, what was that like? I mean, they were showing like pictures of the smoke clouds reaching all the way up to Canada. I mean, did you see any of that? Did you experience any of that?
Oh yeah, it was like for like a week. It was like smoke out. It was just super smoky and like foggy outside. Reminded me of actually like being in Afghanistan, where like I don't know for you, but like down south, like by some of the burn pits, where some mornings you like wake up and it just smells smoky and it's kind of like dusky, like
Yeah.
sandy and dusky. So it was for like a week straight. It was kind of bizarre. It's like we closed all the windows, didn't have any windows open. It was just really terrible air quality. And then like the sun out, it's like it just looked like it was like a dust storm or like a sandstorm in Afghanistan mixed with like the burns and smoke.
That's nuts. I remember every single time we would fly back to Bath, we knew when we were over either getting close to Bagram or Kabul because it would just you just smell it like it was it was like trashy, smoky.
Hmm.
The same thing down near Calf,
Yeah.
like this weird, like early 1900s industrial England,
Hmm.
where like the moths went from being white to evolving to be black because of all the soot that had covered the trees. I mean, it was just like this weird, like it's just this weird smoke, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and it was like that for about a week, and then it kind of cleared up, started raining, and then it was fine. Now it's just normal Washington weather is kind of overcast and cloudy. I think the
Has it
summer's
been pretty
over.
cold up there? Because the weather's dropping here, thankfully.
It's starting to like the mornings are getting down to like the 40s and the 50s.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Daytimes are like still like around 60s and 70s in the daytime. So it's still pretty relatively nice. But there's definitely not as much sun as before. The sun is starting to go away.
Have you gotten your pumpkin spice creamer yet for your coffee? I know you're a coffee guru and snob, and I drink my coffee black 60% of the year, but we're in the season now, so
I don't do that shit.
awful, man. You got to get a frother. Like we,
No, I don't.
yes, you do. I have,
No, I
not only
don't.
do I have pumpkin pie spiced coffee, I also have the pumpkin spice creamer that I'll pour in. I'll froth a little bit of it just for that nice kind of sugary top layer. It is a wonderful treat to have just once a day, and then I have regular black coffee the rest of the time. But it's that season, and we're almost in peppermint mocha season, which is coming up. I went to Walmart the other day while I was visiting Costco, and there's so many other varieties of creamers that I didn't know exist for the Christmas season that they're already advertising, like this sugar cookie. There was a weird frosting one which I've never associated with Christmas, but we're in the season of coffee creamers, and you're not taking advantage of it. You're just sitting there like, I'm going to pour my hot water over this little mixer thing that I have, and you're missing out, man.
No, I'm not.
You, yes, you are.
Um, but yeah, coffee. It's funny because I got into a pretty good discussion with my attendings a couple of weeks ago about coffee, and he had just started like buying like nice coffee and grinding it and doing the whole coffee thing, and he's like, I didn't know what I was missing. Like I had no idea what I was missing until I started doing this, and I was like, yeah, like once you start doing like the good coffee,
Yes.
you totally get it. Like you
No, and
understand.
you're the one that introduced me to that because before I just bought like these really crappy Keurig pods or your standard coffee. But now when I go and I look for like what coffee am I going to drink just solely by itself, like there's so many different like notes that you pick up from the different beans. I mean,
Hmm.
even whether or not you buy the whole bean or whether you're getting a crush makes a huge difference. I'm nowhere near like the coffee snob that like you or Matt Fraser are, but I do appreciate like a good ground coffee, and I've stopped using the Keurig. I have now just a standard like Black and Decker coffee pot where
Hmm.
it just brews it, and you can program it so you wake up to that fresh smell in the morning.
Yeah. That's a one thing that I haven't quite gotten into is like that espresso game. It's something I want to get into, but that shit's so expensive. Like a good
I
espresso setup.
I have a Nespresso,
Espresso is actually pretty nice. I
which
actually,
is, yeah,
yeah, I
it's
actually enjoy the
good. Like,
coffee.
so in the afternoons, I like to do like a little like a coffee date. Where in the morning I have my coffee when I wake up. Like my average day now is waking up at 5, having a cup of coffee. I'll read for 30, 40 minutes, go to the gym for an hour, get back, take the dogs out, and then around like 2 to 3, I'll have like an espresso.
Hmm.
And then maybe like a third cup of, or second or third cup of coffee throughout the morning. But I try to limit it because I don't want to have like 600, milligrams of caffeine a day. I just, that's a little extreme.
Yeah, I only drink my one cup of coffee a day. It's part of my it's part of my morning routine. Like I don't really drink any caffeine the rest of the day. Or avoid really drinking caffeine the rest of the day. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't have that. I've almost gotten like, I don't think it's a dependency thing.
Oh, it's for sure dependency.
But I think it's more routine now. Like there are definitely times in the afternoon I'm like, I don't need the coffee, but this is part of my day. Like I'm gonna sit down and take 15 minutes and have a cup.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
could probably fill it with like some other, like I've started using some of the greens in my protein shakes now. I could easily probably just do something, just have a green smoothie instead. But um, got to get on the bulk parade, man. Like, it's also the season of putting size on. So maybe more coffee will make me work out more.
Yeah, I mean, coffee's great. I definitely it's like really, like almost therapeutic. It's probably like my morning routine when I wake up. Wake
Yeah.
up, brush my teeth, turn the hot water heater on, grind my coffee, make my setup, pour my coffee. And just that kind of gets my day going.
I'll tell you what pisses me off though, sometimes I'll find is when I wake up, like, you know how coffee can immediately cause like a bowel movement. It's just this weird like
Yeah.
science that, you know, you are very aware of. I hate if I haven't finished my coffee or if I'm just getting the smell of coffee, I get
Oh, and then you
interrupted.
get the
And
bowel movement.
yeah, and then it's just like, oh my
You have to
God, I just
shit.
like, yeah, could I have had my coffee and 15 minutes later have this bowel movement? Instead, no, it's like immediate. It's like I did not even really get to enjoy this cup that
Dude,
much.
I have that I get that same feelings a lot of the time. Usually during the week though, it's kind of weird. I get really constipated at work. This might be TMI for anyone listening, but I don't know what it is, but like going to work in the hospital, I just get super constipated. Um, so I have to take like stool softeners and like fiber during the work week.
I didn't know this.
Yeah. It's a thing. I've been trying to figure it out. Like I don't know why. I think it's like a baseline, like maybe anxiety or stress that goes into being in the
Yeah.
hospital. But it was like it occurred when I was in med school too. Like whenever I'm in the hospital, I just feel like I just can't take a shit. But anyways, I had the same thing on weekends. Like when I'm on weekends, obviously I'm going to work. So in the morning when I have my coffee, it's like almost an instantaneous like bowel movement.
Yeah.
That feeling of that urgency.
Yeah. It's almost like when you take pre-workout when you're about to go to the gym and you're like, oh, okay, I think I'm not going to have to go to the bathroom. And then like midway through your first set, you have to like rush to go to the bathroom. I used to like, I found that my biggest problem I had with that was at Fob Pasab with my lifting buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Like without fail, I almost feel like my body just started doing it naturally because I did it once or twice. And then it was like, all right,
Mm.
pre-workout, we'll do a warm-up set. I'm going to run out to the porta shitter right outside the front door and get back into it afterwards. But it sucks because it's almost like once you shit,
Interrupts
it's
it.
like your body just pushes all the energy that you took straight out. And now you're more tired than when you started. That's how it happens. For those of you that think I don't know science, the caffeine goes in here, it comes out there immediately afterwards if you shit right after having a coffee. 100%. There's actually a tube that goes from your throat muscles down to your belly, out of your ass, instantaneous for the coffee track. Scientific.
That's not inaccurate. There is only
Okay, we'll
It's
see.
not
It's not
inaccurate.
inaccurate. It's not accurate. Lawyered. Boom.
It's not inaccurate. But plus or minus a couple of steps, but yeah, it's not too inaccurate.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, speaking of health, I'm surprised that you haven't been called to Walter Reed to help out the president. That's
dude,
crazy.
yeah, one of my buddies texted me. He's like, "You should go on your computer and pull up his health records on your EMR." And I was like, "No, thank you," because that's an
No,
instant. I'm
that's,
instantly going to go to jail and lose
oh
my
my God.
license
Yeah.
if I did that.
Yeah.
Instantly.
I totally forgot that could even. I bet that's so protected behind
Oh,
like
100%.
yeah,
Well, I
like
know they use a different system than we do, anyways, in Walter Reed. But I can only imagine if I like went into his chart, what repercussions I would
well, I
sustain.
think some of like the public knowledge that was out there, like when he got diagnosed, people were like, he's got like a cholesterol of like 250. I don't know what that number is. I don't think I've ever had my cholesterol tested. I think actually I have. I think I'm like
It's a little high.
I think I'm low. I think his weight is like 270 or 280.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I mean, like 73, 74, like, and Chris Christie got it too. And that
Oh
dude
yeah,
is like bigger than William Taft. So I like, they are both significantly at risk for getting like really sick and actually
mm-hmm.
hospitalized, not a voluntary hospitalization, but straight,
Yeah.
like we need to be here on one of these ventilators type thing.
No, I agree. Yeah, because I know that at Cooper, and when I was in med school, Christina said that Lady Gaga got hospitalized at Cooper when she was on tour or something, and
Yeah,
that
Lady
a bunch of
Gaga.
people like went into her chart to like look in her chart to see what was going on, and then the hospital like fired like 3 nurses or something like that for going into her chart. So it's like that's a huge like HIPAA violation.
Oh, it's huge. Well, that's one of the things too that there there's a level of professionalism that you have
Mm-hmm.
to have
Oh
in
yeah,
every
100%.
occupation. And like medicine's one of them. It's like you get gifted the keys to the city essentially for being able to help out a population. And part of that comes with understanding that part of the information that you have is not to be distributed. So that's just like such a violation of trust. I feel like that's why probably a lot of people that are more obese don't want to go to the hospital, just because people are going to be like constantly looking into their background, because that has been an argument, that obese people don't want to go there because everyone's just going to say, oh, it's because of their obesity that they're sick, rather than maybe like an underlying cause. I'm just saying, I've read that on many a blog.
Is that Jezebel?
It is
Is that
actually.
Jezebel speaking? Is that BuzzFeed speaking?
Yeah. Hey, you have to do like, it's not opposition research,
Or
but
just being aware of the other
you have to
sides.
be aware of
Yeah.
like, so if I'm going to tell somebody that being obese is not good, like I should probably also understand that, if you're obese, what are some of the other things that you have to deal with that a super fit, super good looking person doesn't have to deal with?
It's pretty funny. A couple weeks ago, we have med students, and then they'll give a presentation as part of their like going like the last day. They'll give a presentation that where they like take some research and present it to us and talk about like what they would do or something or whatnot. And this one dude talked about bariatric surgery for non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, basically NASH or NAFLD, which is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which basically comes from if you're too fat, your liver gets too fatty, and then it eventually goes to cirrhosis, and then you go to liver failure from that. And then he was like, this is important because, in the military population, a lot of military people have this disease process. And then he was trying to advocate for bariatric surgery to help address that issue. And then I think one of the attendings was like, so what would you do if one of your soldiers had fatty liver disease? And I was like, have him go fucking PT. But it's just like, I don't know. It's just like, it's kind of appalling if you think about it. Because I remember I actually looked it up, and it was like 42% of Americans are considered obese, and I think it's supposed to go up to 50% by the 2030. Like half of America is going to be obese
No,
by
it's unbelievable. And
2030.
the fact that we can't even be honest about it. Fox News was talking about how the president was going to Walter Reed, and I can't remember what host it was, but the host was like, "Yeah, and he's borderline obese." Like,
No,
borderline?
he's obese.
He's obese. Like,
I'm a borderline obese.
I I am now. I'm at 227. I don't know what my
Uh,
height weight is. I think I need to get to like 235 for that. But I mean, that's just like the kind of stuff that people like. Being obese, like the whole healthy at every size, I don't find convincing, because if you're healthy at every size and taking out the outliers for individuals that are fit that get sick or that come down with some sort of cancer, um, individuals that are generally obese, if we didn't have modern medicine, I don't see them living beyond 50 or 60. Like, medicine is keeping these people alive. And the fact that we look at how bad COVID has hit the United States, we're like the fattest country in the world. And so when people are like, oh, like, look at these other countries that have these outbreaks, like per capita, sure, they have a higher death rate, but they don't have that many deaths because their population isn't so fat. And then when we look at like universal health care, the countries in Europe can do it. Canada can do it because they're not wasting tons of money on caring for individuals that did not care for themselves for 40, 50, 60 years. Like, that is really the like underlying issue with why healthcare costs are skyrocketing, is because we're getting so fat as a country. I mean, it's
yeah,
awful.
just to I did a BMI calculator. Your BMI is about 28 or 27. My BMI is about 28.
Okay.
Greater than 30 is considered obese, but that's just by BMI. I mean, obviously body composition matters too,
Yeah.
but that's the measure. Anyways, but no, I 100% agree. It's like I love. It's like it's a nice idea to think about having universal healthcare for everybody. Like, that's a great idea. I think it's something that we should strive for, in terms that
100%.
everybody should have the right to receive care for their health issues, because we have the right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. So right to life. Talk about our ability to receive healthcare as being part of that right to live. But then you have to also weigh into the fact that with American, healthcare costs already the highest in the world in America. It's something like $1.5 trillion a year, something like that is the healthcare costs. And that's before having like a universal healthcare system. If we were to move into a universal healthcare system, I can only imagine that that cost like doubling or tripling, just because of the fact that we talk about obesity and obesity related diseases. 42% of Americans right now are obese. So that's 42% of 350 million people. You think that's what, like, of 350, it's like 160
160.
million people in the United States are obese. And like, unless you address the root cause of obesity in America, Americans, we're never going to get to a system that's going to be able to sustain a fatter and fatter population. Like, if you look at the Scandinavian countries, like, it's great to like look at other countries that have this universal healthcare system that are doing well. Like, you talk about like Sweden has a universal healthcare system. You talk about like Norway, all these Scandinavian countries that are doing great, but they're also like a fraction of the size of America, and they're all, generally
Yeah.
speaking, I don't know, pretty fit because they have a culture of being relatively fit.
Yeah.
I mean, like Sweden has what, a population of like 20 million people,
Yeah,
30
I mean,
million
it's
people.
something like New York City and the tri-state area
Yeah.
are bigger than that. But you look at the foods that these individuals are eating, the climate that they're in. I mean, you look at like Iceland. I think Annie Thorisdottir one time was like, why are Icelandic people so fit? It's like, it's dark 22 out of the 24 hours in the day. You don't have anything else to do other than just go hang out in a gym and get fit. It's like not the same. I mean, they just opened up the gyms here in my building, and I think I've seen, I mean, we've been every day since it's open for the last week. I maybe have seen 10 total people in
Mm-hmm.
there during like my designated hours. And every single one of them is exclusively using like the cardio equipment when it's 65 degrees out. I live next to Central Park. I live next to the biggest hill in Central Park. Like, you could easily just go walk that for 30 minutes instead of sitting on this treadmill reading OK Magazine. Like, I don't understand where people just can't stay committed to the fitness routines because you've been in quarantine. There's an outlet for you, and it's right there. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I can see the park. Go walk to it. It's a quarter mile away. Like, and I think it's sad that as a population, when we have so many resources available to us, we don't use them like for good. You know what I had yesterday? I had the new spicy chicken nuggets from McDonald's. Like,
Ooh.
not good. They're not
Oh,
worth it.
really?
No, they take like a bag of Cheetos, crush them up, like sprinkle them on top. Like, that's the level of spice that you get. So
Uh,
if Cheetos make you want to drink milk to cool your mouth off, these are perfect for you. These are the least spicy chicken thing I've gotten. Wendy's spicy chicken wrap, probably up there. Popeyes, like, that was okay.
little heat.
Little heat. And then Burger King, that's another good one that they had a spicy chicken wrap. They got rid of all the chicken wraps, which is like the only thing I'd ever really eat if I went to have fast food. So do not recommend. 2 thumbs down on the chicken nuggets. We're not sponsored by McDonald's, so I'm not worried about losing a sponsor of the podcast here.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. Is like I mean, we talk about obesity, but we also need to discuss. We should bring up the fact that the food system in America is pretty fucked up right now, and the fact
Yeah.
that it's cheaper to go get a burger from, like, it's, if you think like a dollar, like, you go to the dollar menu at any of the fast food places, and what like world do you think a burger should cost $1? Like, what are you eating to make it that cheap? Because you think about it, if you're paying $1 for a burger, what is McDonald's paying to produce that burger?
Oh yeah. 6 cents, 7 cents. I mean, it's disgusting.
Yeah, like,
We're
what are you eating? Like, quality?
I have I have the same like typically like Saturday nights are like my date night where we go and eat somewhere else in the city. But every single day I have like the exact same thing, like 5 or 6 eggs for breakfast with like 2 cups of either like a broccoli slaw or just broccoli, some beans, like a little bit of rice, and then I'll have like a protein shake and another side of greens. My lunch is like chicken breast, rice, some sort of like a healthy fat. I have like another snack in the afternoon. Dinner is essentially the same thing, maybe a little bit more fat. And then I have casein before I go to bed. I have the same meal for 95% of my meals for the entire week. Like, and it helps, it pays off. Like, I see in the last, month and a half, like my body. I've put a lot of weight on that's good weight since, stopping the Ironman training. But it sucks sometimes. Like I would love to crush a jar of Nutella, and like I'll have some Nutella whenever I want because I'm an adult. But like at the same time, I'm like, all right, I'm not running to the extent that I used to. I'm not biking to the extent. I don't need this type of calorie coming into my body when I want to be able to see abs through a shirt.
Yeah, it's like that discipline too. It's like, we talk about like the characteristics of successful people, and discipline's like, I think, number one of all that list of successful characteristics. It's like you just have to have the discipline to eat properly, to train properly, to sleep properly, to do all the right things. And that, I don't know what it is about maybe just human beings, not necessarily Americans, but being able or not being able to delay gratification and are kind of searching for that easier choice rather than the harder and more fulfilling choice. But it
Yeah,
is what it is.
I think it's one of the things too that when you look at, because we've had people ask us about SARMs, about other performing enhancement drugs, and I think that's like a huge misconception even with those, because it's not like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Franco Columbu and Lou Ferrigno were natural. When they took those like drugs, they were working 10 times harder after taking them so that they were like maximizing whatever they were putting in their body. It wasn't like you took it, he went and sat on the couch and like,
Mm-hmm.
naturally got up to 260 pounds. Like, he crushed his body to put those drugs to work. So I think in general, people just always assume that if there's a pill, it's easy and they don't have to put any other effort into whatever they've been prescribed.
Yeah, I always thought it was I always had, it's kind of weird to say, but I've always had a little bit more respect for people that use PEDs because, PEDs don't make it necessarily easier for you to train. Like it just makes it, uh, what's the analogy I'm trying to make? It's like, it doesn't make training easier. It just makes you be able to train more.
Yeah, and
It's like,
your recovery time's less, but that means that like you have to go harder in order
exactly.
to maximize what you're putting in your body. If you want to use like steroids or other PEDs, if it's legal where you're at, like go ahead and do it. And if it works for you, go ahead and do it. But at the same time, like don't expect that if you're taking it, it's naturally gonna happen. And
Mm-hmm.
like I wish like our pro athletes were able to use PEDs. Like I get the whole trickle down effect where high schoolers and college, they don't want those, kids that are developing to use them. But if you're in the pros, like again, I don't want to see I want to see a Cam Newton style quarterback. I want to see someone who's 6'3", 6'4", 235, running into a 350-pound wall of a man sitting on the defensive line. I don't want to see a guy who is clean and natural and a 205-pound quarterback, scrambling. Like I want to see like contact. I want to see some big, powerful, human vehicles just crushing each other on the pitch.
Yeah, it's like the Olympics. I've always wanted to see like the Olympics to just let them do drugs just because I want to see what the limits of human performance are. These
Yeah.
are the people that are the most gifted already, and then if you give them every possible advantage, see the boundaries of human limits. But I don't know. I get both sides, and I just think it's funny because it's just like American. Or I don't know if that's just an American thing, but like just to take something or to do something that is perceived as like the easier way out to get results, but it's actually counterintuitive, and that PEDs I think are the harder way out because it makes it harder to get better.
Well, Joe Biden, I think, was talking about it back in the late
The
90s,
90s,
early
yeah.
2000s, where he was going after like Mark McGuire and
Mm-hmm.
Sammy Sosa, which if we look back at that era of baseball, like it looked like NFL blitz
Mm-hmm.
style players sitting over home plate. Like they were just Jose Canseco, the Giambi brothers. I mean, just
Mm-hmm.
gigantic humans. But he was sitting there like, maybe I could have gone pro if I had known that the guy that was, on the other side pitching against me was only as good as he was because he was taking drugs. It's like, well, if he was still better than you. Like, it's why I don't like, there's a whole bunch of sports out there to watch. Like, if the NFL's on or an NCAA's game is on, I'm going to watch the NFL. If there's a WNBA and an NBA game is on, I'm going to watch the NBA. Like, I don't want to watch less physically capable, competent athletes. Like, I want to watch the most explosive. I want to watch like the most entertaining sport. But I just dislike this argument. I feel like a bunch of politicians were a bunch of like JV bench warmers
Hmm.
that still have it out for the varsity players, that put them in lockers because they were not fit. Like, I just, I dislike that mentality that we make ourselves victims and we villainize people that are more physically fit and just chalk it up to them being on something that we weren't on.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, PEDs, like, if like look at Lance Armstrong, like there's this huge controversy. Yeah,
All of the bikers were on them. I mean,
yeah.
like, they make a, what was it, Tour de Pharmacy, that the Andy Samberg, John
Oh yeah,
Cena
yeah.
mockumentary. That was phenomenal. If you've not seen it, it's like $3.99. You can rent it on YouTube. It's 45 minutes long. It's phenomenal.
But just like it still requires immense discipline and perseverance, even when using PEDs to get to the highest level. And it's not like you can just take a PED and you'll magically become Lance Armstrong by taking that. Like there's
No.
still, even during that time, like all the Tour de France bikers were all using PEDs, and still nobody came close to Lance's times.
Yeah, we had the best biker, clean or unclean, in the world. And then the fact that Americans are like, I'm cutting off my yellow Live Strong, man. It's like, okay, separate the guy from the cause. Like, that did such great things for cancer research and for like getting awareness out for all these different forms of cancer. And he did have cancer. So it's not like he didn't come back and still kick everyone's ass, because he did. He came back from cancer. I don't care what he was on. He still beat the shit out of every French, Italian, British, Swiss, Australian, you name it. He did it. He kicked the crap out of them. Like, I just think it's awful that people are like, cancel Lance Armstrong because he cheated. Like, okay, like, glass houses, people. Like, glass fucking houses.
Yeah. Speaking of fitness, I did take the ACFT yesterday.
Ooh, yeah, I can't wait to talk about this.
Yeah, so we because it's not doesn't count for record until FY 2022 for the ACFT, but they started doing it now. So the hospital helped, like the troop command or troop battalion, whatever the fuck it's called, held the ACFT yesterday, and they're holding it all week this week too. So I took it yesterday. It was actually relatively not that bad, I would say. It was like, it's the deadlift, hex bar deadlift, 3 rep max. The max is 340, which is like, I could do that cold, like probably like 10 reps
Yeah.
cold on that.
Yeah.
They were like, all right, start warming up. So I just walked up the heavy bars, picked up one, say, all right, I'm good to go. And then like the NCO was like, you still have to wait the next 10 minutes to make sure everybody else is warmed up. I was like, come on. So there's that. The 3 rep max hex bar deadlift. I mean, if you can deadlift 400 pounds, like not even like it's like a joke.
Yeah.
And then next is the standing power throw with a 10-pound net ball. Max is like 12.5 yards or meters. Can't remember which one it is, but I got 11.6 meters on that, or yards, whatever it is. So I didn't max that one. And that's like a more of a form thing. I just didn't, I can't, like, because you throw behind you can't really see the trajectory that you throw.
Yeah.
So I have a suspicion that I was like throwing too high instead of too far. So I wasn't getting quite enough distance on it. I was probably going too high up. So that's an event that I would probably practice more.
Technique driven.
Yeah, it's way more technique driven, being able to throw the ball. After that, you do push-ups, I want to say, and the T push-ups where you come down.
Hand release.
Yeah, and then you come down, like your hands have to be like in between your shoulders, so it's like a close grip push-up, and then you come out all the way with your arms extended like a T, bring it back in and push up again. And I got 56 push-ups, max is 60. And I did not feel good about that because I didn't practice that. And that's on me for not practicing the 2 minutes. So I didn't know like the timing of how fast to go. Because everyone always says like, oh, these are really shitty and like it's really hard to max it. So I kind of sandbagged the first minute, just took my time, just to make sure I didn't burn out. But by the end of with like a minute left, I was like, wait, I have like a decent amount of I haven't burned out yet on like my pecs or triceps. So I was like, I kind of started wrapping them out after that, and I still ran out of time. So that was one thing that I would just say practice to do that at least a couple of times, get the timing down. Next is the sprint drag carry, which is like you sprint down 25 yards, sprint back. You pull a sled, 90-pound sled down and back. You lateral down and back. You do kettlebell carry with 40 pounds down and back, and then you sprint down and back.
What was your time on
25.
that?
Mine was a minute 30,
Okay.
but so it's not very hard to max if you're like, relatively strong and in shape. The only thing is like I probably would have done like 120, except that when I pulled the sled down, the fucking grader, it's like you didn't go all the way across the line. It was like the corner, like probably like an inch worth of the sled didn't cross the line, and I tried turning around. So then we turn around, go back, and then come back across. So I probably took off like 10 seconds, which is, I mean, that's not very difficult. That's like if you're like somewhat fit and like have
Yeah.
some leg strength, that's pretty easy event. The leg tuck was the hanging leg tuck I thought was really easy. It's like if you can do toes to bar, you can do this like relatively easy.
Yeah.
It's just about getting the rhythm. So like the first couple of reps, I came down and it was like shit, like swung back and forth a little bit. Then like rep 3 or 4, I figured out like the timing of like coming down at the same time, so you maintain tension in your abs, and then you're doing like almost like a strict toes to bar type thing where you just
Okay. So you
maintain
can't like no kipping.
no kipping.
Okay.
But like if you time it well so that you don't swing, because if you like swing your legs down too soon, that momentum from your legs will like swing you out back and forth, and you're fighting
Yeah.
momentum. But if you come straight down with your arms and legs at the same time in this motion, kind of, then it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
So I maxed, yeah. And then the run was that 2 mile run was pretty tough.
I mean,
Um,
but you still averaged a sub 7 minute pace for it.
yeah, so like I ran a 13:36, which is max is 13:30. Kind of pissed me off because I didn't realize like the first lap I was like trying to run at like my normal like 13-minute pace, and then like I was like, holy shit, this sucks. Like I don't know if I can hold on to this pace for 7 more laps.
7 more laps? What kind of fucking track are you
Oh,
on?
it's a 400-meter track, which also pisses me off that they make us run on this fucking track. That's like the
Oh my
worst.
God.
I fucking hate it. And the even shitty part thing is that they do the 4 laps and then they measure out like additional 10 yards to make it the full 2 miles exactly. I'm
Oh my
like,
God.
fuck you guys. Like, I think the regs say like plus or minus like 100 yards or something like that, or something like that. I want to say.
Yeah, and you can have different grades. Like I think I've seen some 2 mile courses that were like 1.96 miles
Yeah,
long.
yeah, yeah. It's like plus or minus. You're allowed to like be plus or minus, and like you can just make it minus a little bit.
Yeah,
But
that's again because if you take your PT test at Fort Carson by gate 6 behind what used to be second IBCT and now it's like the Stryker Brigade, you have like a 250-foot elevation difference. So your 2 miles sucks. I'm just telling you straight up, I don't care what your elevation is that you're running out there at 5,800 feet above sea level. If you're running downhill, it's easy.
yeah, I was
Just
on the
want to get that in
track,
there.
and I hate running on the track too. But all in all, like I thought it was a pretty good test. Like my final score was like a 589 without really
Training.
training for it or doing anything to prep for it. Max at 600. But no, not a very hard test if you are physically fit. And I actually enjoy this test. I think that this test is actually way easier than APFD in order to do well on it. Because like, to do the APFD, you just have to be good at push-up, sit-ups, and 2 mile run, which is like any fucking retard can do that. You can just like you don't even have to train for that. You can just do that and pass. But like the ACFT, you have to be in a pretty good shape, just like functional fitness wise, which works out well for anybody of you guys listening that follow us. Like you're probably gonna blow this test out of the water because of the fact that you're able to, you're strong and you have all this other and
Yeah.
like endurance and strength and all this other stuff that we preach with our programming. So overall, I think it's a pretty good test. I think it's actually easier than APFT to do well on because in the APFT, I mean, I don't train for the APFT, never have, never will.
Yeah.
But if you're doing like functional fitness, like the stuff that we do, like you're gonna do fine and crush it compared to your peers that don't just do the normal PT stuff.
One of the things I liked about the ACFT when I saw them lining it up at Garcia, because they would rotate companies in to do, be test subjects for it, and they'd close the gym off. But I'd be in there and I'd get to work out. Is I disliked elements of it because I thought it was too light. Like I thought the sled drag, the
Mm-hmm.
the sled push run or whatever the hell it's called, like add increase the weight. If this is supposed to like replicate some sort of like a combat fitness test, like it needs to be comparable to what you'll be pulling, because otherwise people get into this idea that whether they're combat arms or whether it's like battle of the sexes, like that is not an appropriate weight. That's a weight for like a 15-year-old boy, in gym class. I wish it was like heavier kind of movements. I mean, hell, even wall balls. I think wall balls would be a great test. Like a heavy wall ball would be something that you'd want to throw in there. But I think in general, like the deadlift, the hex bar deadlift, sure, whatever. If you want to max that to like what you feel like you'd be picking up in Afghanistan, like helping out with all of your kit and, a wounded individual, sure. But outside of that, like what were the kettlebells that you were running with? I got there like 35 pounds or something.
40s, they're 40s,
Yeah,
240s.
Like that's like too light for the test too. But what I really did love though about the test, because I think it's like a functional test. Like we can agree that there's elements to it that are much better than the APFT. It's hearing and seeing a bunch of both officers and NCOs that have been in for say 12 to 15 to 18 years that are overweight, that talked crap on CrossFit when it came out because it was like, oh, you're just going to break your back. Like, we're going to have so many people on profile. It's like, we're going to have people on profile like you because you've never touched a barbell, because Tubby thinks that just running 3 miles every morning for PT is going to make you fit. Like, I can tell you're wearing a maternity top.
Yeah, like I thoroughly enjoyed taking the ACFT because, just being the way that we train in terms of, strength, conditioning, standard CrossFit stuff. It's like the perfect test for us because this test is super functional. It's like if you don't train like, like you don't do functional training, like you're going to do great on it. But if you don't do that, like you're kind of fucked. Like unless you actually do some strength, like barbell and strength work, you're not going to be able to max out the deadlift. Even if you're like relatively in shape, like unless you deadlift, you're not going to be able to deadlift the max.
No.
With a hanging leg tuck, like you have to have some upper body strength and core strength to do that.
Core strength for that. Yeah, you have your forearms have to be conditioned. You have to have some coordination, which like, oh my God, I can't believe you'd need coordination to be in the Army. Like what, maybe if you're an S1 clerk, you don't need it, but I feel like every other, branch out there that's carrying a weapon somewhere and, going up and down over Great Bros needs it. So I was really like, I've always been against the weights for the ACFT. I think I still will be, but I'm not against that kind of a test because I thought like the RPAT was a phenomenal test of fitness. But like that's where what was the max for deadlift? Was it like 360 or 405?
Yeah, I think it's like 365 for 3 for the hex bar for the raw. I mean, it's all like relative. Like it's still pretty heavy weight relatively speaking, unless you're actually like a lifter.
The 300-meter shuttle, you got to max out at like sub 65 seconds for that, on back-to-back. The 5-10-5 I thought was great. The broad jump,
yeah.
Metronome push-ups was great. Pull-ups, I mean, like pull-ups to max is like 21. Like that's some great, just well-rounded. And then on top of the next day you go and you do a 3-mile kit run with
the RPAT, dude. That's the best workout I think I've ever possibly do.
Phenomenal. I just
love
remember,
the RPAT.
He shall not be named, but I remember, at RASP, Brian, who can be named because he's a stud.
Yeah.
He had like the fastest time, but then another individual had a like 2-minute like cap on him. Yeah, like way faster. La Drang, and like they're like, did you miss a turn? Did you forget to do something? And he's like, no, I did. It's like, okay, we're gonna just throw up this number. Here's Brian. He's the fastest kid here. He's the fastest kid alive. This is you. You're not. How did you beat him? Like, it blows my mind, but it's such a good test.
Oh, I love that test. It's so
hard.
There
are some rangers that average a 6 flat on that thing in kit. Like, unbelievable strength and speed.
Yeah, I remember when I maxed the RPAT and I just like laughed at the NCOs, so the NCOs suck my dick because it's like it's like healthy shit talking like to the headquarters NCOs, like suck my dick, I maxed that shit and you didn't max. Well, I missed. That was a great test. It was a 2-mile run in kit.
Yeah.
Then it's a rope climb.
Then a 75 or 100 yard sled drag
with 180, the Skeko drag with 180.
Yeah.
Then it was like the caving ladder.
Caving ladder, was it a, it's just a sprint then?
I
Yeah,
think
then
it's
it's
sprint
just
down
a
back.
sprint, like a 200-yard sprint, and then it's the 8-foot wall into a final mile run.
The final, yeah.
The, I mean, Savannah's flat, so doing it on like perimeter road and everything is easy. Um, I I've done it once at Benning. I never want to do it again because that run from the field up past RHQ
Hmm.
uh, is just a hill
Oh yeah.
for 400 plus meters. Like I remember I hit, as soon as I hit the wood line beyond where, everyone could see, like, I remember walking for like 5 seconds, like,
Pussy.
what the fuck? And then I'm like, wait a second. I can't be seen by any, oh, RHQ's right there. Shit. And I'm like, I immediately picked it up because the last thing I wanted to have happen was, Vanek at the time walking out and just being like,
Why are you walking?
why are you walking? Being like, no. And I also remember getting asked to, like, what's the, I didn't have the question asked, but he proposed, hey, if someone asks you, like, what's the best unit you've ever been in, you say the current unit that you're in.
Mm.
And I was like, I would never be able to stomach that saying like 1/8 cav. Like
Yeah, I don't think I'd be able to say
I
that.
would have said 211 infantry out of eyeball. Would not have ever come out of my mouth to say that like a cav unit was better. It's like, thank you for not asking me that. Like I would have failed your test miserably.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Yeah, I was like, I would not have said anything, but the best you've ever been in.
Yeah, no, I like. All right, so we've had a couple questions too that we can finish up on. As people are going to schools now and schools are opening back up, a couple have asked about, while they're at Benning, at IBOLC, what are some good courses to go through? And I think you could probably answer that for the guys that are out at SIL if you have opportunities to hit schools up. And so, like, I'll be pretty honest with it. IBOLC, you should finish Commandant's List. Like, there's real no excuse not to finish Commandant's List. And here are a couple reasons why. You're going to have foreign service members that are in your class. So, like, if you fall behind them on anything, like, quit. Like, you should leave. You shouldn't be in the infantry. Like, there's no reason these people, I don't care if they've been battling like ISIS in Africa, if they've been, fighting beside the Kurds. Like, I don't care what their excuse is. You should not lose to a foreign service member because you're American. Two, you're probably going to have a lot of National Guard individuals that are in your class. And like, while I'm not going to say the active duty is like smarter than the National Guard, what I am going to say is, like, you're going to be going full-time Army. These individuals need to learn the skill set because, one weekend, a month, and 2 weeks during the summer, they're going to be putting this into practice, but it is not their primary profession. It is your primary profession to be the world's best infantry officer. So you shouldn't lose to any National Guard or reservists. So that really like dwindles down the numbers for most classes to where you're only competing against 60 some people. So that being said, finish Commandant's List. Get your Ranger tab. You can make as many excuses as you want, tiny heart syndrome, whatever have you. If you legitimately have an injury, you have an injury, go back as soon as you're fresh, but you should get your Ranger tab. Now, okay, those are the two courses that you should have when you leave Benning. What are some other ones? If you're going to an airborne unit, they used to send guys automatically to airborne, whether they were going or not. Now it's, you have to be going to one of the 3 or 4 units that are jumping. If you can't get airborne, Air Assault, Pathfinder, like whatever. Those are just those like badges that you see usually like some
I think they're
senior
like close
captain
in
has.
Pathfinder.
Yeah, they're just, I mean, like, they're cool schools to go to, but if you have a guy in your unit that's sling load certified, like, they don't need you because that dude's going to do exactly what you're going to do. And the pilots know how to land. You don't have to sit there and do this like cut sling load and all these like, super fancy hand signals. If you saw me doing them, then clearly I went to Air Assault. Pilots are just going to be like, get out of my landing zone. So Air Assault, Pathfinder, don't do it. Go to Mortar Leader course. Go to the Heavy Weapons Leader course. Don't go to Bradley. You can pick that shit up real easy because if the tankers can do it and they're dumb as rocks, you can do it as an infantryman in a Bradley. Go to like the Advanced Rifle Marksmanship course. If you can go to RSLIC, go to RSLIC. Like, that's another great course. But outside of that, that's it at Benning. You're not going to get sweet schools. And if you're just looking to get badges, and I get it, I've been there where I've wanted just more chest candy. long-term people are successful because they take things from pertinent schools and put them to application and use at their units. So take stuff you learn at Ranger School, use it with your platoon. Take stuff that you could learn in RSLIC with reconnaissance, put it to use in your platoon. Same with the heavy weapons stuff, like, or an advanced signal class where you learn about all the different radios. Stuff that actually matters in combat is what you should be like really creating a curated playlist of schools, not what looks good on your uniform, because, you know, I'm sure we all know people that have a bunch of chest candy that absolutely sucked at being soldiers. So like that should be your focus, and being super fit and good looking and having a great flow.
Yeah, I'll second that for FA Bullock. Commandant's list, not that hard to do. You know, like Sean was saying, you have international students, you have National Guard students, and then you have people that go FA because they didn't get anything else. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. Commandant's list at FA Bullock is not hard to get. Uh, I would recommend getting JFO if you have any inclination of, you know, going to the line, getting JFO while you're there. Although I have heard that they have incorporated JFO into FA Bullock's curriculum, so everybody is now JFO qualified when they leave
That's
FA
cool.
Bullock, which I've heard. I don't know if that's true or not. That's cool. Um, Definitely, you know, get a Ranger School slot. It's pretty hard. I think it's pretty hard to get it out of FA Bullock unless you're like an absolute stud. So it's not the end of the world if you don't get it at FA Bullock. And then if you don't get it at FA Bullock, not the end of the world, just go get it when you get to your unit. But, you know, incumbent upon you to be one fit enough to get that spot,
Yep.
because you'll go through like levels and levels of assessments to go to school, because, you know, each brigade has X slots, and then they're not going to waste that slot on someone that's not going to pass. So just be in really good shape when you leave FA Bullock, and then get JFO. And then that's probably the only school I'd actually recommend out of FA Bullocks, like JFO and Ranger School, because everything else kind of like not really beneficial unless you're doing it in real life. So like
Sure.
I did like the CDE course because we're doing Kinetic Strikes. So like that was a good course if you're doing Kinetic Strikes, but, you know, why would you do that
Yeah.
if you're not, you know,
If
in
you're
the
not
regular
doing it.
army?
No, I agree. There, other courses that like I know some ranger companies have like gone to, are like the is it mountain warfare or the Arctic warfare? There, I think there's two. Like
There's
one's up
two,
in
yeah.
Vermont,
Alaska.
yeah, and the
I want
other's,
to get them in Vermont.
yeah,
Yeah.
and one of them's like marine led. So like that's a really cool class if you can do something where you're learning like advanced mountain techniques with ropes, with the gear that you've got, with orientation. Like that's super applicable, especially, you know, like it's really hard to understand how difficult it is until you're put in a situation where you're patrolling in the mountains and being able to identify different elevations and the dead space that are created by the terrain, and needing to, you know, lead individuals through those areas, knowing how the signals interrupted, and knowing what, you know, different kind of fires are going to do for that geographic area. And it's like really sometimes, you know, somewhat overwhelming to really conceptualize all that. And if you go to a course, it just makes it that much easier to really effectively plan routes and your fires, and ensuring that you're in constant communication with hires so that you can, you know, prevent any kind of, you know, enemy attack. So there's a lot of great courses out there. They don't all have to come with a tab or a badge to do. And I think it just talks to being more humble in your, you know, abilities, and understanding that, again, what you look like is not always indicative of how good you are, but what you're bringing to the table speaks volumes about, you know, what kind of care and commitment that you're going to put into the organizations that you're charged to lead.
It's a good point. Yeah, I was like, if you look at my, I guess, chest, you don't got, I don't have much. I just had my tab and airborne wings. You know, never was shot at, didn't get my cab, didn't, you know, go to jump master, didn't have aerosol, didn't have any of the cool badges. But at the end of the day, I think like I still have a, you know, pretty good reputation and resume despite not having anything to show for it on my chest, at least.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think airborne is one of those ones that like you could literally fall out of a plane and be fine. I thought going to airborne school was like day 3. I was like, let's just jump. Like I've
I'm
learned how to
ready.
fall enough.
Yeah.
Like we're good. Stuff I did not pay close enough attention to at airborne though was like how to rig the ruck. Um, like I feel like people just like hand wave that, because when I got to regiment, they're like, all right, you know, we're not jumping Hollywood, like bring your shit in. I was like, okay, this goes through the red hole, which goes through
Oh,
the
we had
book.
battle labs. We jumped battle labs, so that was easy.
Oh yeah, no,
I also
we
like
had like,
never dropped. I never actually dropped my rocks when I would jump because I didn't want to. Which is another thing to worry about.
oh yeah,
I just ride
just
it
trying to
in.
drag it. Yeah,
Yeah, I just ride it
I felt
in.
bad for the guys jumping the goose. You know,
Oh
like
yeah, I was like,
that
thank
was,
God if I
I'm
jump in the
standing. I mean, like
goose.
I'm standing right behind them on every single jump, and they're just like, God damn it. Like,
Yeah, the goose or like the 240 or whatever,
yeah,
jumping like the machine guns and the goose. I was like, good luck to you guys.
yeah,
I'm
you
gonna jump
guys are
my.
gonna burn it. And like the goose guys were, um, like the two that I had were stupid fit. Like they just looked like, these high school college wrestlers, just like not an ounce of fat on them. And I'm like, if anyone's going to be able to hit this and not be impacted, it's like these guys. But they were just like, I mean, like good, tough. I, I mean, jumping like extra radios, I was like, damn it, this is heavy. I literally cannot fathom like jumping out of a plane and like getting spun upside down and just knowing that like when I hit, I've got this gigantic metal tube that I'm just gonna crash on. Like, no, no, thank you.
Yeah, it's like you can't pay me enough to jump static line anymore. Like, cool if you like jumping static line, but like at the same time though, I'm like it got old real fast in regiment because we never jumped Hollywood, and that's like I feel like everybody else, everyone, they just jump Hollywood constantly, daytime
Oh,
Hollywood jumps.
what? As soon as I left, like the very next jump they did was out at Tybee.
Uh-huh.
And so they just jumped in PTs. They did a
Must be
ramp
nice.
blast, and then they got picked up by Zodiacs. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, why? I left too early.
Yeah, it was like a 375 when I was there. The battalion command team outlawed Hollywood jumps. So we just never did Hollywood jumps when I was a battalion. Not do a single one. And that's pain in the ass jumping, tactical.
Yeah, well, they almost also canceled. What was it, Thanksgiving or Christmas? I remember we were
That's
all waiting.
Thanksgiving, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like the arms room was dirty, and I'm like, we were hanging out or we are doing something where we were gonna meet up, and like it just, I'm sitting there getting texts from the both of you, just like, what the fuck, like,
I
god
remember
damn
that
it.
because the battalion commander inspecting the arms room and then went to go inspect a weapon, racked it open, and a round fell out.
Oh, I thought it was just dirty.
No,
Oh
I
no.
know whose weapon that was too. I won't say who and what company it was, but yeah,
Oh
he
no.
basically went in. Luckily, it was a blank round, but still, the fact that they had a round in the chamber in the arms room, and that
Oh,
was
that's,
like basically was pretty pissed after that. And
oh
then
yeah, I
just
can imagine. We had a number of guys that like after the deployment, the battalion commander was really pissed because he was like, I don't know what the general fitness is. Like, I'm not seeing like enough people taking like RPFTs, and so he did like an NCO officer call where he just had a massive RPFT, and we had a handful of dudes not past the 40-minute like time threshold, and they were like,
oh yeah,
see ya, like,
yeah.
get out.
We did the same thing with like a battalion 5 mile run standard. And if you did not pass the 40-minute mark, you were put in formation in front of the entire battalion.
Yeah, we
Rough.
I mean, but that's like I mean, again, policing your own,
Yeah.
like doing the right thing, doing those checks, like, like that attention to detail adds up in other areas, and people bounce back from it and they get better. But like, it's just, I love how all the like military meme pages, like they shit on the 82nd, because I think guys take it pretty well that are in the 82nd. I mean, if you can go to any unit that's not Ranger Regiment, like I would go to Bragg.
Oh yeah,
Like
dude.
I
Yeah.
would be fine with serving at Bragg, because at least you're around people that are like super motivated. They really love their unit. I don't know however many units that are out there that really have that kind of esprit de corps outside of Ranger Regiment. But I mean, it's like the running joke, like, I got RFS'd and now I'm at Bragg and I'm killing it. I went from being like, a corporal at regiment to now I'm a squad leader, 2 months in at Bragg. Like, it's just like you are, and I've constantly told people this, like my squad leaders that I had at regiment could easily walk into any platoon sergeant position in the regular Army and absolutely nail it. Same with my platoon sergeant or regiment. That dude could go be a first sergeant anywhere in the Army and absolutely just crush every other first sergeant in that battalion and brigade, unless they themselves are doing like charter time.
Yeah, like one of my FOs, for the life of him, could not pass the E5 board, so we eventually had to like let him go, and he went to brag. Dude went from an E4 specialist, a tab spec, to an E6 squad or section leader in a year. Like
Yeah,
jumping, he got his E5 immediately, and then got his E6 like a year later. But that's like, I guess, a testament to regiment and how it does. But then, yeah, it was kind of, they're actually standing up a surgery program now at Womack at Bragg, where they're taking 2 surgery residents now. And I was like, damn, I wish they had that when I was applying, because I would 100% go to Bragg to go work at Bragg.
yeah, and but I think Seattle area is much better than
Yeah,
living
like
in
living
Vietnam.
wise, but like as far as I'm sure, like they have their own unique, like I guess, program culture. Like the program culture up here at Madigan is it's kind of, it's super type A personalities, and it's like it
Yeah,
reminds me of being like in soft like Ranger Regiment. But as far as like units here, like second ID, at least, but at
for
least they
those of
have
you that
first
aren't watching
group,
the podcast, did
the
the
jerk
jerk
off.
motion.
Yeah.
So
But at least
that
they have
was
275 here. So we have some Rangers, we have some SF dudes, we have 160th guys here. So at least there's some element of soft. But yeah, the rest of second ID, I'm just like,
yeah. Didn't do
yeah,
the motion of that one, but you can understand what the
yeah.
yeah. That's how I felt when like I was at Carson, and that, to be honest, like the support battalion were like primarily the only people that I ever saw from 10th group, and so I think it's like a bad representation of that group in general. So if like you're at Carson and you think you're seeing an SF dude, 9 times out of 10, it's just some dude that supports them but thinks he's soft, and it will be like a giant letdown. But yeah, it's like I don't know. 4ID is now like super heavy. It's 2 striker brigades and an armor brigade. I don't understand that. You're out at Carson. There's so much terrain to use for light infantry, and it's just heavy, 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 heavy. Like that. I don't know. It doesn't make for like a really fit formation. And I get people like love it out there and the whole like mountain warrior thing, but I don't see that any longer because it's just a bunch of striker brigades. And once you like the death before dismount thing is just such a, I think it's like a bad culture because it doesn't promote physical fitness. You get too comfortable in your vehicles. Uh, you can take shortcuts because you can drive places. I don't think it's like a fit way to fight.
Bunch of lazy ass fat
Yeah, I mean
tankers.
that's what it was. It was like you have these tank former, and that's literally why I really disliked being at Hood. It was easy to stand out at Hood if you were super motivated and you didn't have to touch your Bradley, but you had guys at Hood that were more proud to wear a Stetson than to like wear a shirt that says Ranger on it. I'm not a huge fan of people wearing like tab shirts. It's just like, okay, unless if you have the opportunity to get your tab, be proud. Um, but if you have your tab, like go get the next thing. Either it's a scroll or a long tab and like get out of the regular Army. But like I remember like people gave bad looks to dudes wearing shirts with tabs on them or shorts with tabs on them, and they would like mock you for it. It's like, why can't you be super proud of having a tab? Because I guarantee if you're giving me flack for it, you don't have it. Um, and you're like a little jelly bitch. Like, oh, he's got his tab and he's proud. I don't care if there's a tab on every truck, for every second lieutenant that finishes Ranger school. It's brutal. I didn't do it. But you know what? Like if someone gets offended by that, tiny heart syndrome. Like that's just like that's a bigger indication of the person you are than the person that they are being proud of a school that 1% of the Army has. Because you guarantee know that if you had that tab, you would be proud to rock it and you have it on your truck just like you have your entire fucking like ERB on the back of their sergeant major. Like I'm so thankful that you have 2 ARCOMs. Like thank you for letting the world know that you're a GWAT, veteran. Like take your Dodge Ram, your F-150, get the fuck out of my face. Like, I would rather have the specialist that has a tab sweatshirt because he actually went and did something.
It's funny that you mentioned that. I yesterday after the ACFT, it's Army PTs, but I don't have like an Army. I refuse to buy the Army jacket PTs, big Army PTs. So I wore like my regimental
Oh
Ranger
yeah,
crest sweatshirt,
yeah.
and not a single NCO said anything. Not a single person said anything to me. I think there was like one of the nurses was like, "I guess we're gonna your doctor. You can wear whatever you want." And I was like, "Once you're a Ranger, you can wear whatever you want."
I did the same thing. I wouldn't wear the DUI, but if I had like a sweatshirt that was like for our unit, I would wear that over like
Yeah,
the Army jacket. And like some people are like, well, it's not authorized. It's like you have guys wearing like company level T-shirts every single day for PT. I just think like people just get butthurt when like you're not wearing what they expect you to wear. It's like then make a rule. Tell me I can't wear a sweatshirt that says that has my unit on it.
yeah.
Um,
I was
but
just kind
speaking
of
of sweatshirts, we're gonna get a test set here soon, going with like an embroidered Cronus fit, either on a black or a heather graphite sweatshirt, so that you guys can rock it at your unit PT. And again, just let people know you're better than them. And that's really the end of the day. You do Cronus fit, you're better than them. You're probably better looking than them. You're definitely better built than them. And now you're gonna have better gear than them. I mean, if there's anything that Cronus fit has taught you, it's like you're good looking and you're cool.
Yeah, I've kind of definitely become more of a shitbag since becoming a doctor in terms of I just don't give a fuck about anything that's like Army regs related. Like it was pretty funny, like at the PT test yesterday, I was just wearing my Ranger DUI sweatshirt. No one said anything
Yeah.
to me. I just think nobody had the balls to say anything to me.
No, I mean, no one has the stones to do that. Because I think at the end of the day, it just like it opens them up for like they pick small things that aren't important. I think I was in the gym one time. I still had my sweatshirt on because it was still freezing, and someone decided to come up and tell me and Dan, like, hey, you can't lift with your sweatshirt on. Like, it's like a mismatch of the PT uniform. Trying to cite something that had no cite to it, and it's like, don't play this game. Like, stay unless it's like if your shirt's untucked for PT, I'll tell you your shirt's untucked. Like that's a standard. That's the rule. Tuck your shit in. But if you're fat and you're gonna come up to somebody and try to play like hardcore NCO, like I'm sorry, like you're gonna fail like 100 times out of 100 times on this one because I'm gonna say okay, like so you tell me I take my sweatshirt off because you don't think it's within regs. Guess what's coming, buddy? Like I'm gonna ask you why you're fat because that is definitely out of regs.
Yeah, like in the hospital, I walk around with my hands in my pockets because we have pockets in our scrubs. So I walk around with my hands in my pockets, and my hair is long as shit. Uh, it's just funny, like I just don't care, and like no
Well, I just think
one's
like it's like the people that focus on like those small details, like and it's always like some tabless armor sergeant major, and I've seen enough of them. I feel like that's just like the constant that I know. It's like they always focus on things because that's like the one element that they feel like they can
they can
control.
control. Yeah,
Because outside of that, like they really can't stand up on anything else that they've got because everyone knows like oh you've got multiple deployments to Afghanistan. Okay, well if they're after like 2013 2014, I guarantee I know what kind of deployments those were. And then it's like, oh, you've been in vehicles and tanks your whole life. When's the last time a tank was like significantly used in combat, even in Iraq and Afghanistan? Like how many times, how many tank engagements have you seen? And like there's been damage done to tanks, yes, but like 99% of all casualties are either dismount or the vehicles being hit by like a 400-pound IED. Like that's the kind of stuff that people associate. So if you're riding around in a tank, like come on man, you were in a Cadillac on every deployment. Like let's be real here. So like that's what's really frustrating to me is we have NCOs and officers that put stock in not being fit, but put too much stock in the fact that your uniform doesn't look like pristine to them. Like that's the wrong focus.
yeah. I wonder what the vibe is that people think of me in the hospital because uh, the people that I've never talked to will come up to me and ask me if I'm like the Ranger doctor because apparently
Good.
people talk about me. I don't know. It's kind of bizarre that people know who I am before dude, I didn't know. Oh, dude, I was taking a patient after surgery to the recovery room, And the nurse I handed it off to was like, are you for Cronus Fit? And I was like, yes. And he goes, I bought one of your programs. I follow your SF prep program. And I
That's
was like,
awesome.
oh, it's
Which is
badass.
free. The SF prep is free. So if you've purchased it, please don't.
Yeah.
It's free.
So it's kind of funny. It kind of makes me wonder if I should be more aware uh, of the persona that I am, putting out there, and that maybe I should be more doing the right thing if people are watching me.
Yeah, I don't
Then
have to worry about that. I'm in a city of people that get offended if you don't wear a face mask when you're out in public.
yeah. So like I walk around with my hands in my pockets, which I'm not really at the same time though, I don't read any of the regulations in the hospital because I just don't care.
You're also in scrubs, so it's.
Yeah. So I just don't know. Whatever. It is what it is. If I come up with a shitbag vibe, then whatever.
I know my reputation is you're either that hot dude, obviously, and then usually the second one is like you're that asshole. Like, okay, like, yes, I like like the people that I like that I'm friends with. It's like, it's like a community like this. Everyone else, like, I'm not into it. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe I don't know if I should be more aware, but I think I'm also like pretty aware of the vibe I put out. Like I'm pretty nice to everybody in the hospital. I'm
Yeah.
not a dick that I've seen other doctors be dicks too. I actually help out patients. So I won't ask a nurse to do something that I won't do myself. Like kind of like typical like being a good leader type thing.
Oh yeah, like super. Like I'll be super respectful to people, and I don't know. I just don't. I think like what we talked about, there's like standards that you need to be really good at. Like I think when you go to a range, you have to shoot well, you have to be safe with your weapon, you have to be physically fit. Like those are standards people should care about. I don't care if you're wearing non-standard boots to go do a live fire. I don't care if you wanted to buy an ops core so you could wear Peltors. Like I do not care. I don't even care if you want to wear your, plate carrier that you bought for $350 at home. As long as you have the plates in that were assigned to you that we know are ballistically tested, good to go. So it's just like the uniform stuff that I've never understood why people get, their panties in a bundle, because I don't think that is necessarily indicative of how good of a soldier. Now, if like you have to wear, for instance, like, in regiment, wear your gloves, all the PPE and stuff. Like if that's the rule, then wear it. But like, don't be the guy then that goes to the range and then has like all of your gear like dangling off that wasn't assigned. Like that's the kind of stuff that I dislike when it comes to standards. It's like, don't be like the airsoft guy because you think it looks cool. Like practical standards for practical pieces of equipment and uniform. Like that should be the test. But we were rambling there. I'm sorry. We got off on a tangent of things we disliked about hands in pockets and shit. So I think what we can probably summarize there is Bobby and I probably have a reputation of being somewhat dickish. Like
I don't think I have a reputation of being dickish. I have a very nice reputation in the hospital. A lot of people, a
okay,
lot of nurses say I'm a nice doctor. Thank you
you're
very
the nice
much.
doctor. So what if Bobby and I, minus Bobby, have a reputation of sometimes being dickish? Like we get it. Like we can be like that. Bobby can't be like that apparently, but we get it. Okay, but like just be good at what you do so that if you are, who cares? You're good at what you do.
That's
Like
true. If you're good at whatever, yeah, as long as you're
yeah,
good, you can back it
yeah,
up. Whatever.
like I would not be this way if I sucked at life. Like I'd be like, I'd be the guy that would have to virtue signal to make myself feel better. I'd be banging pots every single night at 7 p.m. here in New
They
York
still do
City.
that.
They still do that. Yes, dude. I live across from this community over here at 400 Central Park West. And it's this big U-shape 4-building block that probably has a couple thousand people. And it's like a cone of pots and pans every night. And people get out there with their like giant megaphones and they scream and they cheer. And oh my God, like just go do something. Like, no, there's no doctor that's probably going like, good. If I didn't just come off shift and I'm really tired, good. If I just came off shift and I'm super wide awake, but I wanted to have quiet time with my family and be like out of all the annoying kit, this is great because this is exactly what I wanted to hear out my fucking window. Like, I don't. I don't get that why it's still a thing.
This is New York City.
Dude, I'm moving. I I went and started looking at places in Jersey. That's what I spent all day yesterday doing. On a tangent. If you're still listening, you can check out. I'm going to talk about Jersey real quick because Bobby's from there. But like I checked out like Weehawken, Hoboken, North Bergen. Like I'm getting out of New York City. I'll break my lease early. I had a woman tell me the other day not to get on the elevator with her. I wear my mask now. Like I wear it because I just like whatever. Like I'll do my minimal part if I'm in a building. So I'm waiting to get on. This woman wearing like mop level 4 puts her arm out in front of the door and goes, "No, no, no." I laughed at her and I said no, and I just walked right by her arm. And then she got off to like mumble and complain, and then the door shut and I kept going down and she had to get the next elevator. Like that's what I hate about this city. It's just there's something about the people here where they're like constant victims. They get wrapped around like one narrative of things. Like I am not a conservative person. But if you are a conservative person, like you are literally Hitler reincarnate to these people. And there is no talking with them. I've got friends at law school that literally are posting things about Donald Trump right now that like for better or worse, you don't like him. He's made some like incredibly stupid decisions when it comes to his health and managing, coronavirus. But guess what, guys? Like we live in a relatively federalist society. Like the states have a ton of power to curb this kind of stuff. And if you live in a state that didn't want to curb that, go talk to your governor and representatives too. But people are attacking him like he has literally created like a second Holocaust. And like and that kind of extreme talk, I like it blows. I just want to get away from it because it's like you can't have dialogue here in the city. New York City is the most without being like overly politically correct, it is the most free speech restrictive environment I've ever been in. And that's even in a law school, because if you have a conversation where you try to bring in like if you just wanted to play devil's advocate why Roe v. Wade should be overturned, people will complain to the teachers, to their friends, to the administration on anonymous student boards that you like infringed on their rights, that you attacked them. Like this open dialogue, marketplace of ideas thing does not exist in this city. And like that's a very broad statement. I understand that, but I have seen it from like the academic elites. I've seen it from people on the streets. Like they live in this own their own little microcosms. And if anything is different outside of it, like they freak the fuck out. Like I hate it. Cannot stand it. Like negative people, closed-minded on the very far left side. Like it's why we have such a divided country right now.
Yeah, it's just the closed-mindedness and the inability to have empathy for anything besides your own perspective.
Yeah, and you have to have you have to have like this really hypocritical side of you that refuses to acknowledge things. I mean, like Trump said it during the debates, like he's been elected for 4 years. The whole reason that Democrats are mad are because the Republicans back in 2016 and 17 were like, hey, if we have the opportunity to appoint a Supreme Court justice, we're not going to, like out of principle, like let the electors decide. Well, they went back on their word. Okay, like they're politicians. What did you expect? President Obama did the exact same thing. He tried to put, I think it was Merrick Garland, up to the Supreme Court, and they were like, no, dude, like we control the Senate. Like you're not getting this guy into the Supreme Court. It is the president's right. It's not like, he's supposed to go, I wonder what I should do. It's like, no, that is your job. Like fill the seat. And so I get from a public policy standpoint, maybe it looks badly because if Amy Coney Barrett sits on there, that's a 6-3 majority. Like that is going to be very hard. But generally, Supreme Court has been relatively conservative when it comes to interpretation of the Constitution. But the fact that people are like, they don't even acknowledge that. They don't acknowledge that, the Democrats tried to do that in 2016. It just like, it speaks to their immaturity. And I would say it speaks to some of the stupidity of my own peers who are at law school, incredibly privileged, that are complaining about like society tearing them down. But it's like, you're going to law school, and the fact that you don't have enough awareness to recognize what the Constitution says is just like, that's like, I feel like going to med school and not being able to distinguish a cold from an amputation. Like it just, it blows my mind. I hate this city.
Yeah, I'm not gonna live in the city anytime soon.
Yeah, I'll work in the city. I don't want to live here. It's just, I feel like I walk out of my room and I'm gonna go, like I'll go run for a couple miles in the park, and like I'm just running as if someone's gonna yell at me for stepping in front of their city bike when I have the green light. Their dog is off leash and runs after me. It's my fault all of a sudden that their golden doodle couldn't keep its shit together. Like it's just, nobody takes responsibility for anything in the city. Everything is everyone else's fault. Like it's bad. Don't come here if you have an opportunity to live in the city. Live in Jersey, commute here, keep your car. You can go to Costco whenever you want. You're not paying $75 for a single avocado. Like this is what I have to deal with.
So such a hard life.
It's such a tough life. I've got
so tough.
I'm reading all day. I work out whenever I want. I have a decent sleep schedule. You get to look at Central Park. If anything you should take away from this podcast is just like, it's tough. It's tough for me.
Life
and
is tough.
I'm this good looking with this much of a power beak. Like it's been a hard life. Speaking of hard, Eagles.
Oh
what
God.
The fuck, Carson Wentz?
I think this is Carson Wentz's last year, unless he gets his shit together the rest of the season. So we'll see. I don't know. We'll play the Niners tonight, and the Niners are pretty banged up too. They don't have Jimmy G. They don't have Raheem Mostert. They don't have Nick Bosa. So that's like 3 major players that are gone for them. So they might have a chance tonight, but I think we don't have any of our wide receivers. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll put in Jalen Hurts. Like, I want to see what that dude does at quarterback.
Well, he did fumble the ball last week.
I didn't see that because I was in an NFL blackout zone because apparently New York City again, another great thing in New York City, they only want you to watch one game at 1:00 on a Sunday.
Yeah, he it was like one of those Wildcat where it was like the option of handing it off or running it, and then he stuck in I think it was Miles Sanders' arms, and then he didn't let the ball go, and then he fumbled the ball on the handoff. So
yeah, okay, well, whatever. Like his first couple of games, I mean, how many interceptions has Carson Wentz had because he can't sit his feet?
Bring back Nick Foles.
But we should never have let him go. He led you to a Super Bowl. Like, if anything, they should have gone, you know what? This is a sign. This is a sign. I don't want this, like, ginger taking snaps for my team. Like, and then look what he did for the Bears last week.
Yeah.
Nick Foles is just like, what a guy. Like,
what a guy.
Great quarterback. So incredibly humble. Ice in his veins. Like, I think he would have done great down in Jacksonville had he not broken his collarbone, like, first play of the season. Like, just so unfortunate for him. I truly don't think he cares if he wins a Super Bowl or if he doesn't. He just plays, as best as Nick Foles can play.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you that forget, he still had a 7 touchdown throwing game. Like, he's a stud. Nick Foles is just a great, great quarterback. And we got rid of him because we thought Carson Wentz was the guy because he had one really good season.
Never been the same after that season.
No. But at least Philly got a championship finally. Like, unlike the Washington football team.
Which we lost to.
Oh, my God. I don't even. Awful. Doug Peterson, like, this might be his last season if he
can't turn it. I can only imagine what all the stations are saying in Philadelphia. I can't imagine what the commentary is like in Philadelphia. They're lucky that they don't have fans in the stadium because they would have batteries thrown. They would have thrown batteries already.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got some cousins that are still there, and I just talked to one this morning. He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Hire or fire him," and he goes, "Fire immediately." Fire. Like,
I can't imagine what the local papers and the local stations are saying right now in Philly.
Oh, it's awful. For guys like who's the long hair Trevor Lawrence. There's now like a rumor that they were talking about on ESPN that he's not even going to come into the NFL next year because he doesn't want to get drafted by was it not the not the Bengals or the Browns. Who's the other awful team? The Jets.
Oh,
Another New York awfulness. Doesn't like you're gonna go 0-16. Like, why would you want to play for the Jets? Like, I'd rather stay at Clemson for another year than play for the Jets. Probably
yeah.
because Clemson could beat the Jets.
I don't think so.
I know, 100% not. Like, but whatever.
Don't even
I'm
start that.
speaking. I'm speaking in hyperbole. Like,
But yeah, I'll watch it later tonight. Probably work out here pretty shortly, and then do some work for get ready for the week.
yeah, I'm gonna get back to reading my stuff.
All right. Any other announcements you got?
No.
All right, we will end it with that. Catch you guys next time. I'm gonna be working for the next 2 weekends, so probably won't have another podcast anytime soon, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll do the Friday thing so you can check in on us.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Later.
Peace.